So who wants to begin?
Some shows have highs and lows, and thus far, Foster's have had none of them. They've only been highs. Foster's Home is just so well written, it's hilarious, and it's got dramatic storytelling in an amazing way. But the 6th season is definitely a different experience for me. I would say half of the experience is really its best episodes, but then the other half is actually its worst, having some of the most repetitive and uninspired episodes. But then at the same time, they also have this amazing 3-part special, Destination Imagination, that perfectly encapsulates the series. So join me as we count down the final 13 episodes of Foster's Home and see how this show properly ended. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny Tunes and Johnny 2000, focusing on 2000s movies, TV, and so much more. Let's jump into the end of Foster's Home.
He's solving crime, one sandwich at a time. Yeah.
He solves it.
We start off season 6, the final season, very boldly with Jackie Knowles and the case of the Overdue library crook. Yeah, it's a big sentence to say, isn't it? And just as the name implies, it is a complete episode from the perspective of Jackie Knowles. It feels like some of the episodes are losing their touch, because like we used to follow Wilt, Eduardo, and now we're just going off to random characters. But I did like the Little Peas episode from the last season, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. But this one just, it doesn't do anything super special.
It was business as usual for Jackie Khones' private eye when he rolled in.
It starts out with Jackie Knowles in his little bathroom office. He's like a detective, and Mac is trying to get his help, which I don't know why he would be known for being a detective when that's never happened before. And it's in the girls' bathroom. What's the deal with that? That pink character, Squirrel, Fluffer Butter, yeah, her and Jackie Knowles are a thing. They're a relationship. We saw it in the Little Peas episode, ironically, because we were just talking about that.
There's a Mac here to see you.
Give me a minute.
He'll be out in a minute.
And yeah, so they're always together, and it's kind of cute because it's green and pink, kind of reminds me of Cosmo and Wanda. And yeah, Mac confides within Jackie, asking for help because somebody ruined his reputation at the library. Yeah, so he has an overdue book when really he's never missed a payment in his life. So clearly he's going to be getting in loads of trouble. He tells the story about what happened at the library, and I don't know why I don't believe him, but I don't think the librarian threw library cards to try and kill him. I'd like to think a library is a safe space, but you know, then again, when's the last time I've been to one? Not since YouTube, that's for sure. And so yeah, Jackie just vows that he's going to figure out the situation, despite the fact he doesn't look interested in the conflict at all anyway. And yeah, Mac just kind of bows out from here on out, and Jackie Knowles approaches each of the friends in the house with a little bit of suspicion, starting with Wilt, of course. And Wilt is such a nice guy. He just has such a problem with saying no to anybody, including Jackie Knowles, who doesn't have any evidence. He's just accusing people one by one. I don't know why it has to be this character of all people. Like, can it just be Blue? Like, Blue is such a funny character. He accuses Eduardo, who admits to something he didn't even do. Like, that's so crazy.
Now where's the book? Booyah. Case closed. Hey, wait a minute. This ain't from the library.
It definitely has a funny note when Mac reunites with Jackie, saying that, like, he's being followed by librarians everywhere he goes, and that his life could be on the line. Like, honestly, it's so funny. It actually puts a lot of pressure on Jackie to solve this crime.
Librarians! They were everywhere!
Jackie starts taking Mac to all the places he could have gone, like the arcade hive and the actual library itself, to figure out what's going on. There's this like constant motif of the characters using voiceover describing the events they go through, and I think this is such a really funny way to tell the story, even though it doesn't have a lot of comedy beats and doesn't end up being super fun to watch. It is an impressive idea in general. So they disguise themselves as books to go into the library without suspicion. There's a guy in a trench coat that keeps an eye on him, which can only lead to more drama. These detective type episodes always have like a realization moment, and it always happens to happen right before it's too late. And that's what happens with Jackie Knowles. This guy in a trench coat ends up cornering him in the bathroom stall, throwing him in the toilet.
It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out I was sucker punched. When I came to, my whole world had been turned upside down.
And then, yeah, Mac and him start teaming up. He puts him in a little race car that Mac drives. Kind of cute that they're even doing that. And they start chasing him all across the house. And yeah, it's just a nice little action sequence until we learn that when this guy falls into the pool and they finally expose who he really is.
Jackie, are you all right?
I am. Don't know about this guy.
Yeah, it's Blue, of all people. Oh my gosh, they didn't even have to have him, like, have lines in the episodes just to blame this whole thing on him. Like, it could have been so much funnier if he was a more active part of it. And yeah, this didn't even end up working out for anybody. Mac is mad at him because obviously he didn't even try that hard. And we learned that Jackie accidentally took the library card in general, so it's his fault. He's the one who did all of this. So I don't know why Blue was at the helm of this, but yeah, it just wasn't fair. So it feels like kind of a waste of a whole episode, if you ask me. Like, it feels like detective, but not necessarily leaning into it to a point where we got, like, black and white. It just was, like, an occasional voiceover, and more so only Mac and Jackie, which it didn't actually end up being as funny as I was hoping, but hey, it's the final season. We need something.
Go, 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 go.
The next episode is kind of fun because, you know, we had a Jackie episode just then, and now we have a Coco episode, and this follows her a lot more than it followed him. It actually does what Foster's does best and, like, shows the entire journey of, like, one singular character, despite the fact there's so much stuff going on around them. Yeah, so this starts with Coco finally getting out of the house for the first time. It feels like it's about to be about Mac and Blue when Frankie's, like, trying to clean the house, but it's not. They leave the door open and Coco escapes, like some wild animal. So Coco walks out and nobody notices she's gone, and that's a recurring joke for the rest of the whole episode. Kind of done really well, too.
Guys, what have I told you about leaving the door open?
There's somebody stuck in the well. A little squirrel goes up to Coco and asks for her help, which is actually really cute. It's like a little reference to Lassie when this dog tried to warn the humans about somebody being stuck in a well. Yeah, so Coco ends up saving this little Chihuahua dog, which feels kind of like a parody of like the Legally Blonde doll, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. It turns out these rich tennis-playing adults which have such disturbing character designs. Like, I don't know what about it that's so off-putting, but yeah, there's something going on with these characters.
He usually bites strangers. We've lost more of our child's tutors that way.
No, not fired. Lost.
Hopefully they've gone to a better place.
And they ask Coco to be a tutor for their daughter. Turns out this little doggy doesn't like anybody, so the fact that it likes Coco is kind of a big deal. This girl's name is Eris, which is crazy, because this is the only channel I know to have two characters named Eris, and she's a spoiled rich little girl that Coco inevitably ends up tutoring. What? It feels like a Jessie plotline from Disney Channel, where like she's trying to change the ways of these young spoiled kids. This girl is so inspired by Coco, and like even though she just says the words Coco, she somehow gets a huge meaning out of this whole thing.
Oh, nobody's really spelled it all out for me like that before.
You think this episode's gonna be all about this, and Coco starts mentoring this girl, but it kind of makes a lot of different changes throughout this whole thing. To a point where Coco even writes a book. This girl helps her get on like all these late night shows, and Coco becomes utterly famous, with the entirety of Foster still not realizing she's even gone. What? So yeah, eventually she tries to get away from the crowds because the popularity is getting too much for her, so she ends up breaking into a set in Hollywood, and just a montage of crazy, outlandish events just for her. This is one of the fun moments I'm talking about. It feels like a short expanded into a whole episode. I can't say there's a lot of jokes here, but it is interesting to figure out where she ends up going. Blue's watching it on the TV and doesn't even bother telling anybody this is going on.
Not a car chase, volcano explosion, or zombie attack, then how is it news?
She joins a reggae band, which did not feel like a natural turn of events at all, just because she gets in this argument with a waiter, and she does a really good job at it, essentially taking on the role of like a Bob Marley character. And I want to know which writer thought this would be an inspiring plot line. It just ends up in being like a really successful performance where Coco is being argued over with two music producers that want her to go to Japan. So she ends up in Japan.
How to match her beauty. Every man thought she was a cutie.
And her entire style ends up going viral to everybody in their culture. Like, she becomes a star of movies, commercials, and it's like crazy how famous she gets. It feels like a ripoff of the Dio commercial when Blue became super famous, but there's like less jokes in here, and since we can't understand Coco, it's just a series of events happening. We cut back to Foster's every now and then, and yeah, we still don't realize Coco is gone. Frankie is like none the wiser. Then Coco falls in love with the abdominal snowman. What? She jumps into a full-on relationship with this Sasquatch-type character. Kind of reminds me of the guy from Monsters, Inc. Yeah, that's what I'm getting for this vibe. And then they start having relationship issues, spanning over the course of like hours, I believe. It feels like it's been years at this point. And then they have one final goodbye as Coco gets onto a plane with one final teardrop. Aww. She ends up flying the plane, which I did not expect, and it runs out of fuel, only for her to end up in the jungle where there is a giant volcano. Oh my god, I'm running out of breath just talking about this plot line. She ends up going to prison, which every single character in the main cast has gone to, except for Eduardo at this point. And yeah, I just can't believe how many backgrounds they probably had to draw for this episode. It feels like a full-on movie done in 20 minutes. It feels like they just saw the Where's Wilt special and were like, people like that, let's keep doing that again. And you know, that it's a good special for sure, but with Coco, it doesn't really go across the same way. The adventure is a lot of fun, seeing her become like a worldwide phenomenon and not have Foster's notice, like not even a little bit this whole time, is so funny. But this isn't anything they haven't done before, so it's like hard to like wrap your head around it. Coco just walks right back into the house without anybody noticing, leaving this recurring joke of like getting away with whatever she wants.
What have I said about leaving the front door open? Coco could have gotten out. Who knows what could have happened?
This season is just so confusing because it seems like they're gonna just take us through the day in life of like individual characters, and yeah, I'm not that excited for it, honestly. I don't know why.
Duck, 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 goose.
Episode 3 is back to normal, kind of. It's called Pranks for Nothing, and I do like the episode title, but the episode's not as funny as you would expect it to be, which really bums me out. It starts out with a giant fumigation going on at Foster's home. Should be a really fun idea for a plot. You know, you have to get all the characters into a hotel, which is like 7 hours away, so they go on this egregious road trip where nobody's having a good time, everybody's just miserable, and Blue wants to actually have a good time.
Come on, guys, why the sourpusses?
Mac's not in this episode, which is kind of sad, but it is fun to watch them go on this trip. They go to a hotel, and we get to see the Blue's usual antics, but hotel edition. He really is down for pranks. He downs a bunch of coffee, which cannot be healthy. I can't believe he even does all that. And though Mr. Harriman says not to get any food from the fridge, not to do any pay-per-view, Blue breaks every single rule in the book.
Yeah, all of it. What do you want? You guys want something?
Thank you. No, will you get off?
Just give me everything on page 1 and 2.
Obviously, it's Blue. Like, he's the most selfish character. This shouldn't be surprising to any of us at all. He orders room service, and yeah, Coco, Eduardo, and Wilt they just want to relax. Like, they have to go in the morning, so why would you try to fit all this into one night, especially after a 7-hour trip? They trick him into leaving the room and lock him out, which is very disrespectful.
Add that to 77, carry the 3, and... What the the devil?
Mr. Harriman comes back in and Blue gets in trouble for everything, which is super fair because he's the only one that is trying to cause chaos in this entire thing. So Blue vows to get revenge on all of his friends, and it becomes like this whole prank war at this random hotel. We get a new characters, Frit and Frat, and yeah, I don't know if I got their names right or wrong.
This isn't the bathroom. Duh, you're so clueless. This is obviously the gift shop.
Yeah, they're just these dopey characters that are not that memorable, never really come back, and Blue uses to help him with his pranks. But it turns out they're just as incapable of doing anything as he is. If anything, they're like bogging him down in every possible way.
We're gonna order 40 pizzas and have them delivered to their room.
Yeah, delivery for 228.
Blue tries this shaving cream trick, which I've never really even heard of. Like, you put shaving cream in a bag, put it under the door, and then step on it. Like, that's kind of a funny idea. I definitely am going to do that in real life. But Frit and Frat end up ruining it for Blue, so it doesn't even work. Then Blue has the idea to order a bunch of pizzas to their room, which was such a common 2000s prank that never really went anywhere in real life. They end up beating him to it and order a bunch of pizza to their room. And then Frit and Frat mess it up only to get double the amount of pizza. So Blue's just paying for dozens and dozens of pizza, and seeing Blue be the straight man is kind of funny, but it doesn't hit the same way as like him being the more obnoxious one, like with Madam Foster in the old folks home. Like this doesn't feel like it's going in the places that Fosters would usually have fun going to.
Now that I've got those two occupied with a completely pointless yet seemingly pranky task, Coco and her spies will most certainly keep an eye on them, leaving me all by my lonesome in complete secrecy to create the ultimate prank!
And Blue continues this like all on his own. He ends up putting a giant convoluted contraption that's supposed to like ruin anybody who steps outside the door, but of course it has to be Mr. Harriman, and Mr. Harriman doesn't have a single thing to say. He just sits there in silence, which is just kind of sad to note, but like the voice actor who played Mr. Harriman actually died recently, which is so sad to think about. So like definitely send your condolences, pray for him tonight, because this was such a talented man, and it sucks that it happened while I'm watching Foster's over again. Like it just makes me kind of sad. But yeah, so he doesn't say anything, causing Blue to fully freak out, clean everything, and the entire hotel just to get forgiveness from Mr. Harriman. And yeah, everybody's checking out, and Blue had a horrible night just attempting to prank people, but it never actually came through. And everybody ends up in positive spirits except for him on this 7-hour car ride home. And all it took was a little bit of pranking, yeah.
Here, lose right Blue.
This episode could have been really funny, but it's scene after scene of something they've already done before. I wish they actually took their time to like find the funnier moments, maybe got Mac involved, but this one also felt like a miss to me. I don't know how we're 3 episodes in and I still haven't been caught by any of these concepts. Like, they are objectively good ideas for Fosters, there's just something about it that doesn't click with me.
I'm losing my mind! Please stop!
And it sucks because it's like every other season I feel like just got better and better, and now I'm just trying so hard to see the magic from before. A lot of people will say it's because they switched animation to like Flash, and I feel like that would make sense if I didn't like the last season, but I did. Season 5 was really good. Season 6 is confusing me so far. But yeah, we still have more episodes, so let's keep going.
But I now realize there's a thin line between friend and fiend. A thin line and the letter R. Plus, I think there's a vowel switch in there. Is it I-E or E-I?
This next episode is the first time we had like a Blue-based episode and title, honestly, Bloo Tube. Yeah, season 6, episode 4, and it didn't actually work out for me, which is so sad. Like, I thought this would be the episode that really got me, but no, it didn't. So it starts out with the entire family ready to go to the water world, Monsoon Lagoon, and of course Blue is the one most excited to go, despite the fact that there's a huge storm outside. He just assumes there's are still going.
We've got some bad news.
Less talking and more rubbing, my friend. I don't want to end up as red as a lobster.
Yeah, no, it's shut down, Blue. The entire park is not working. I know too well of how bad you want to go to a water park sometimes. Trust me, there's nothing I can empathize with more, but it's just not working out.
Maybe you can talk some sense into the others. They're talking about canceling the trip to the water park.
So they have to stay inside all day, which has been done before, you know, like it's a very imaginative plot line for everybody to get involved in. So, you know, hopefully we get some good jokes. And Eduardo, Wilt, and Coco all want to make the best of their time, along with Mac. And this is where Blue being a buzzkill just goes way too far, so they try to get into a bunch of board games and, like, have fun on their own. Like, they don't need the imagination. Goo doesn't have to show up this time. And yeah, they play, like, Monopoly ripoffs, Rat Trap. It reminds me of the games you used to play in the 2000s that were, like, so big and, like, made of plastic. And you could make, like, a whole, like, trap of things. Like, even Sorry being in this game. Like, this is not the era we live in anymore. Like, board games are just not as all the rage as they used to be. Like, now I feel like they're more of a niche community when people are comfortable, like, sitting down for hours at a time. Like, Candyland and Chutes and Ladders just haven't really been talked about in the same way.
You've landed on Moore Park Gardens, where I've built 3 condominiums, which means you owe me $500 or your firstborn child.
Blue just wants everybody to be sad, and it's really not fun, because he doesn't have, like, a good reason. He just wants a pity party. Everybody gives in eventually, letting him have a in memoriam ceremony for the Monsoon Lagoon Park, which that's as funny as it gets, but there's not even, like, lines that made me laugh in this, so that's where I'm, like, getting even more confused. And then they start going on the internet laughing at YouTube, which I guess they have this parody. It's called ViewTube, and it has all the videos that you would recognize today. A bunch of memes, a bunch of, like, internet revolutionizing things.
I want all of you to return to your chairs and start crying this instant! I said crying, not laughing!
This must have been, like, the exact moment people were going on YouTube a lot more. Like, it's so crazy that it started only a few years before, but this is when things started going for real viral. And Mac thinks this is a great opportunity for all of them to try to get in the top 10, which is not a thing anymore. I don't know if it was back then. Do you guys remember if YouTube did top 10s? I feel like that's more of an iTunes concept for songs, but here they want to break onto the internet, and it feels so much like what I'm doing right now as I'm talking about it, which is so crazy. They get Wilt doing a basketball thing, they get Eduardo referencing Explorin' Lauren again.
A little girl named Lauren, all the hours of the day which there are 24 in.
Okay.
And yeah, they just try to have fun, and it's such a good time, but they just keep referencing old memes that I don't exactly remember, until this becomes a huge house phenomenon that Blue just wants no part in. So he tells on all the friends so they'd stop using Frankie's camera, and yeah, so it ends up being like this whole house related thing. So Frankie doesn't end up getting mad at them at all because she thinks it's nice and creative, and soon everybody in the house is making viral videos. And oh my god, it's actually such a cute idea that they're all attempting to do it, and they actually parody real life videos like the cat on the piano. And then we even get a shout out from Pizza Party, the band from last season. Yeah, that's a funny concept too. And Blue just finds a bunch of ways to make buzzkill videos that just don't match up to anybody else's experience.
For you shall reap the rewards of my visionary quest to fill this gap in the water entertainment industry.
He creates his own water park within the house just to prove that he could, calls it Blue Lagoon, and this is like the peak of the episode for me, where we're actually like worried about him. And of course this has to go horribly wrong, only for the next day we learn that what actually happened at Blue Lagoon is named the Blue Buffoon, and that's the video that trends. And yeah, Blue just makes this water slide that goes throughout the whole house and inevitably puts him in a cast so he can't actually go to Monsoon Lagoon ever, as the entire house goes. So yeah, this whole rainy day just ends up in a karmic event that allows Blue to be stuck in the house with some really depressing music. And yeah, it's definitely a funny irony episode, but again, it still doesn't feel like it's getting to the comedy beats I'm hoping for it to get to. But hey, let's still give it some more chances. I really did like Destination Imagination, so like at least if I don't like these ones, maybe I'll know that that part is a lot more positive, but you know, just be patient with me, guys. I just like the water slide in this one. The water slide is my favorite part because seeing one go throughout the whole house is like kids' ideation, like coming to life. And that's one of my favorite parts, the imaginative parts of it all. But having the actual internet connected to it definitely bogs it down a little bit, at least the way they portrayed it. So yeah, that's Bloo Tube.
One thing every athlete's gotta have, electrolytes. Yeah!
Yes, I can already feel these electric lights working. Yes, they're exactly what I need.
Then we have Race for Your Life, Mac and Blue. And this is another entire episode devoted to one simple concept that the animators just went haywire with. I did have a lot more fun with this one than the ones in the past. It starts with Mac and Blue and their competitive nature at the Beehive Arcade. I love this place. It reminds me of the Squeaker episode. That episode is just so good. Yeah, so Mac beats Blue at literally every game they could think of, which is not surprising. Blue is a poor sport. He just cannot get over it. And yeah, the competitiveness between them keeps getting further and further.
Way to go, kid.
Thanks, guys. Always nice to meet fans.
The entire concept is about them racing to get back to Foster's, and this is a real competition, which Blue claims Mac does not have over him. You know, he's like, you could beat me in games, but not real life. So they make a pact to try to get all the way to Foster's without cheating or doing anything inhumane to win this race, and then that person will be the true winner.
Who cares? He can call me what he wants. Not like it bothers me. Nope, not one bit. I'm absolutely fine with him never, ever, ever letting go of it for the rest of our lives.
Then we get a full 20-minute episode, guys, of these two racing to get home. And they make it interesting in as many ways as they can possible. But you know what? It does get tiring after a while. And we revisit the same places over and over again. So Mac is focused on being morally correct, like being polite to people he passes.
How's your mama's back?
Not stepping on a crack so he doesn't break his mother's back. That's so funny that they even incorporated that to the main plot. And yeah, so he's bogged down by trying to do the right thing constantly. Meanwhile, Blue finds himself stuck because he's just not fast enough, so he needs electrolytes. So he gets electric lights instead of like a Gatorade or anything. And yeah, he goes to the grocery store to check out, and it just takes forever, which only sucks because this plot has been done multiple times, like when Eduardo was trying to buy the mattress in the bus episode, or when Mac and Blue stopped at a pit stop in the bus episode and they got jobs just to go to the bathroom.
Bathroom key?
Sorry, sir, but, store policy says you have to buy something.
So he spends a large portion of the episode trying to get into the bathroom. Meanwhile, Mac starts getting tired, assuming Blue is cheating. He starts visualizing him in a bunch of different scenarios that are not actually him, because he's just at this convenience store, hilariously enough. And yeah, Mac starts to get really tired and fed up with all the morals he's trying to follow. He's like, you know what? I need to start taking this seriously. It's about winning. So they start having little flashbacks of like what it would be like to win, to motivate them, and yeah, that actually ends up forcing him to get an energy drink.
Sweet. Huh, that's weird. Normally sugar makes me... Uh-oh. I immediately regret this decision!
Something that you would think would be worse than sugar, because sugar has messed him up in the past. But this time it just hypes him up super quickly. Blue ends up getting running shoes and everything a professional runner would need, and I don't know how, but this man who is like not going to accept cash ends up taking the electric lights and the change he got from the store in exchange for all the running equipment, which I can't believe Blue is so disrespectful about. Like, there's no way this would have worked in real life. And yeah, they end up all the way back at the Beehive, which is so crazy. You think the episode's over, but it turns out to only be the end of the second act. Oh my gosh. And now with both of them actually committed, they go all out in this full race back to Foster's.
I'm sorry for starting this whole silly race thing.
No, I'm sorry for ribbing you in the first place. That's a nice tracksuit.
Oh, thanks.
We go through every location they went to before, but this time they have a completely different approach. Actually doing an honest race. And it sucks that there's like not a lot of other characters in this, especially since we got like a lot of new characters throughout the first couple episodes. Now it's just Blue and Mac, and it's like the least interesting episode I've had to deal with yet. Like, I can't believe how boring it is to just see them running toward one singular place over and over and over again. I feel like Mac's moral code is the most interesting part of the episode.
I loved you!
Watching him have to stick within his own rules, and yet Blue is like struggling in his own department. Like, they both stall constantly. I don't know how long this is supposed to take place over the course of, but it feels like literally days at this point. With them finally doing one last sprint back to the house, I wasn't, like, surprised to see them end up all the way back at the Beehive. Like, that reminds me of the episode where they got lost inside of Foster's and then had to go all the way back to the top again. Like, that happened so many times before, but this time it's, like, in the city, which we don't actually care about in Foster's. Like, show us something in the house. Show us new aspects we haven't seen. Like, we keep going to places that other shows have already established are just boring new places. Like, I want to see what's unique to Foster's, but hey, I guess they're just not gonna listen to me. In the final sprint, Mac ends up getting in last minute, and yeah, it's clear he won, but Blue is not having it. They both pass out from like dehydration, end up in the hospital because they can never have like a normal ending to an episode, of course. And yeah, it's just so embarrassing because Blue's like, since we were both dehydrated, we probably don't even know what happened. And he cannot like let Mac take the win, which is so frustrating.
Like the doctor said, we were exhausted when we came in. And in our delusional state, how could we ever determine the winner of a race? Heck, we were so out of it, I don't even know if we were racing.
So by the end of the episode, it just has them in the hospital agreeing to go on one last race to finally decide who deserves it. And I am so exhausted at this point. Like, I didn't even enjoy what I watched up until this, so I don't know why they think I would enjoy one last 2-minute montage of this. Point is, it's just repeating things that we've already seen before, and I wish Blue was entertaining enough to make up for this fact, but he's not, so yeah, we're gonna have to keep going. Oh wait, yes. Technically, Destination Imagination, the 3-part episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, isn't listed as the final episode, but this was the last episode produced, the last episode animated, the last episode voiced for. Therefore, I don't see why it's irrational to call it the final episode. Things are aired differently for different reasons, and I'm sure they just wanted specifically them to end on an episode, but let's humor me for a second. Let's actually assume this is the finale, and let's jump into Destination Imagination. Is the most caretaking person at Foster's home. It's no surprise that Mr. Harriman isn't super productive, and Madame Foster is almost a liability on her own. Like, Frankie really does run the ship here.
If you play the part of the adventurer, you'll just be acting awesome, not being awesome. It'll look like you lack confidence.
And that's why it's really exciting that this special is about her. So Frankie becomes super disgusted by being tossed around by Mr. Harriman.
It's important that you follow an explicit instruction, or else you'll be sure to cause certain destruction.
Day to day, combined with the endless chores and no help or even a single thank you from all the other friends. And we see a side of Foster's that is actually a lot more selfish, bringing it to like a really realistic circumstance. One day she ends up finding a lock and chained toy box that arrives, and there's a letter that explicitly states, imaginary friend inside, do not open. And if we learned anything from the House of Blues pilot when that giant thing was in a cage, maybe it's not best to open. Frankie doesn't even actually want to open it, but Mr. Harriman insists that she take it up to the attic. Later, Frankie does actually open the box against the instruction of Harriman and herself, and she sees that there's a really innocent friend inside, and she has a really nice conversation with him, and actually starts looking deep into the box. She realizes it's unusually deep, and she falls into it. And this is where we hit Adventure Time. No, I'm just kidding. Can you imagine? That would actually be a really cool crossover. Frankie realizes that this is a giant world, way bigger than she could have expected. And this childlike voice kind of guides her around the world, and she sees toys, crayons, and delicacies with this new voice of a friend.
You think this is beautiful? Hey, where you go? Wait till you see this.
Early on, we learned that this friend has dwelt in the world alone after being shipped by its kid's family to fosters, and this friend talks to her and sympathizes her with this real-world issue, and she promises that she will return the next day.
Hey, I had a really nice time. I mean, I really, really, really needed this.
I had fun too. Come back whenever you want.
Yeah,
She returns to fulfill her really tiring routine, and everybody is just as ungrateful, if not more ungrateful now, for everything she does. She had this really nice experience in this toy box, and suddenly reality looks a lot more dreary because of how demanding it is. So it's no surprise that she wants to return the next day. This is like a form of like escapism. Like Frankie really just wants to get away from it all, and it's not hard to be tempted.
but for once, somebody actually listens to me, you know?
That's because you always have such interesting things to say.
I gotta go.
Why don't you stay just a little longer? I always hate it when you leave.
Sorry. Harriman said I have to repave the driveway.
Then there's this one instance where she's actually planning on going back to the real world, but the imaginary friend locks the doors and the windows in the castle they're staying in, and it just like cuts to black. And now we're actually concerned for Frankie. You know, like this thing already had some like really scary energy behind it, but the fact that it's proving to Frankie that it can control the world around her, there's a little bit of a threat here. Wondering where Frankie is. It's apparently time for those French toast breakfasts that they do, and Frankie is not there to fulfill it. Everybody is sitting at the table expecting Frankie, and I don't feel bad at all. Like, these kids are so spoiled. Mr. Harriman gets furious and bounces to the attic to find Frankie, because she's apparently been there for days, and they didn't think of that as a concern.
Frankie wouldn't just disappear without explaining herself. Something must be wrong.
Something most certainly is wrong. Spending all her time in the attic doing who knows what. It better be spick and span in there or... I knew it!
And they see that the toy box's chains are actually broken. He bounces out, threatening to hand her a pink slip, which is like, Mr. Harriman, you do like half the work she does. Why are you so threatening? Mac and the others actually decide they're gonna look for Frankie because they care that she's alive.
Why?
They find out that this box is actually ticklish, and after touching it, it actually opens for all the main characters to fall inside. So Mac, Blue, Eduardo, Coco, and Wilt fall into this imaginary world, only to find that nobody responds or notices them.
Hello? Is anyone home? Hey, buddy, I'm talking to you. The silent treatment, eh? Maybe this'll make you talk. Take this and this and this and this. Come on, sing.
They're pursued by, like, Weeble-like policemen in a river of plastic balls, and suddenly it's very apparent that these guys are here. They float down this really cool river, but are pulled over by this large glove. In the hand, they realize belong to a tall, handsome Robin Hood-esque hero figure that speaks like Shakespeare, and this guy yells, "Excelsior!" as a battle cry, and repeatedly tries to warn the group that they are in danger.
Some, or all of thee, will most likely perish.
He pursues the quest with them, trying the different environments that the group overcomes, like a forest full of springs, and then they go into the sea of lava. And meanwhile, Mr. Harriman is trying to get a new employee to take Frankie's job. Wow, Mr. Harriman, like, she could literally not even be well, and you would not notice. You're literally trying to replace her. It's harsh. Then meanwhile, the gang still tries to find Frankie, and they're approached at like a piano-like bridge, which is actually really cool.
Eyes will most certainly be seared out of their sockets by the bright, happy colors.
The group end up falling into a gooey, sticky canyon full of clay gunk and zombie copies of themselves. And this is where it gets like, oh gosh, how dark can this imagination get? The Robin Hood guy sacrifices himself while the group makes their escape. Aw, I like this guy, but he's gone now, so it doesn't matter. They eventually end up at the home of a stuffed toy dog who takes them into her home for them to rest for the night.
Nighty-night, my brave rescuers.
But then feeds them crumpets that are dusted with sleeping powder. Turns out that this is all just a trap to keep them away from Frankie. And there's something odd about this world that, like, you can't quite put your hands on. Like, it feels very contrived, and it seems open, but, like, there's just something about it that's off. Mac pretended to eat the crumpets because he's not allowed to eat sugar, remember that? He goes, like, ballistic every time he has even a pinch of sugar. Finally, that character quirk comes back up in this movie. So Mac didn't actually fall asleep to the sleeping powder. So he's able to fool the toy dog with a clay gun copy of him. Then the dog's face turns out to be this imaginary friend of the world's true form. He slips off the dog and onto a body of a stuffed squirrel, which then comes to life. So the group realizes that this imaginary friend is kind of like a face that could go over anything within the world, and it allows him complete control of it. So that's why, like, the Weeble policemen were attacking them, and the Excelsior guy was also like that, and even the toy dog. Wow, so this guy not only has his own world, he knows how to use manipulation within it. It's crazy. So they capture world on an apple because Mac is able to move it away from other objects, and it can't actually take over Mac because he already has a face. The group throw the apple to a nearby desert. That way there's no object or anything for him to possess further.
You're just going to leave me here? You'll never make it through the desert to reach Frankie. You need me.
No, we don't.
Sorry, Matt, but yes, we do.
Trust me, I got a plan.
Until a group of horses gallop by. This world guy calls them as an apple, and they obviously eat it, and he becomes the horse. So he heads over to the castle to make sure that Frankie is staying exactly where she is. When the group arrive at Frankie's new room in the castle, so he's really not trapping her, she's just voluntarily being here because of how much resentment she feels toward Foster's home.
Do you really have to go?
You're right. I don't really have to go, do I?
They ask Frankie to come back to the real world, but she's like, no, I'm so sick of you guys. I'm definitely staying here because they respect me here, and she's got a point. Mac tries to go after her, but the group is gassed out cold by the world guy who is possessing a sorcerer now. The group finds itself in the attic, and Mac despairs over Frankie's words, while the group wander downstairs to their rooms. They soon realize that they're not actually in the real Fosters, and this is where it gets trippy.
I have tried to get under the cover so I can cry because we are never going to see Senorita Frankie again, but they're stuck. Huh, that's weird.
Mac is aware that Mac sees a giant green eye peering into the attic window, which is not normal, so he runs downstairs, and the group is tossed around by the house in a topsy-turvy bonanza. Meanwhile, in the real world, Mr. Harriman tries to do all the chores himself since he cannot find a single employee that falls under his expectations. And he is doing a terrible job. He's so specific about it. He's like a perfectionist in the worst degree. He has like the discipline to do things, but he doesn't have the patience to get them done. And this is where I really like this character. Like, it's so funny. Appearingly very responsible, rigid, strict character can actually still be careless and immature. Like, the duality of Mr. Harriman is really good. I should do a spin-off video and make it 5 hours long about Mr. Harriman's dark complexity. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna do that. Please don't make me. The rest of the imaginary friends are upset, and Mr. Harriman is like, no, I'll help you with your request when I'm done mopping, but there's no way he's gonna be done ever. Mr. Harriman gets annoyed that he wants them to fix her problems. Now he gets what Frankie's going through.
Lazy girl.
Not bad.
Frankie is enamored with the world and everything this imaginary friend has kind of built, but she's also a little disturbed by the tiny squeaky voices. It's aware that there's still things that world, this imaginary friend, is keeping from her. He tries to give her a miniature Foster's house to get her comfortable there, and a paper plane flies into her head. That's where Frankie finds that there's a miniature group inside of all the friends. World becomes furiously angry and accuses her of having made up her mind to leave him already. Oh, this guy is so disturbed. Saying that this is very similar to his experience at the very beginning of the movie. Frankie is able to calm him down and actually be super empathetic, and we see a really beautiful side of Frankie. Like, she is just so caring and giving, and she's so able to withstand other people's problems because she's at the forefront of her own needs. Like, she's not a complete pushover. She agrees to a lot of things, but she doesn't necessarily not take care of herself. And that's another duality in this character that I really respect. Like, they show that you can be respectful and say yes to too many things while also not necessarily being a people pleaser, which is usually what the category falls into. She convinces him to unshrink Mac, Blue, and the group and tries to make friends with them until Mr. Harriman makes an appearance. Oh my gosh, Mr. Harriman, this is not helpful.
You, young man, are a bad boy. Luring a naive young woman into this silly little imaginary world and keeping her from her duties. Tis, tis, tis.
He hops into the room and finds him and scolds this new imaginary friend for bringing and keeping Frankie in the toy chest, and that he's going to drag Frankie and the others outside of the toy box and leave him alone to think about his actions. And this is like his biggest trigger because he's been abandoned. So this guy is really threatened because obviously the person he cares about the most is going to be taken away from him by this rabbit, and Mr. Harriman doesn't understand that World controls the world. That's why his name is that. And things start to shake and an earthquake appears. Suddenly his emotions are controlling everything. He starts to attack Harriman, Frankie, and everybody else, and becomes a huge dragon-like combination of all these things in the box. Everybody's on this chase to get out of the world, and everybody is able to get out of the toy box in the sky just in time. Everybody but Frankie, because World actually ends up eating her whole. But later Frankie actually emerges from the box completely unharmed.
Little help, please.
And is now talking to the main characters about letting World out of the box, which is a really interesting metaphor. You know, like, we all go into his world and everything is chaotic and he's kind of unstable just as much as everything around him. But Frankie opens up this option of, oh, maybe instead of us going into his world, he comes into our world. Maybe that'd be more beneficial. So this allows him to kind of get a new perspective on life. And it's like, in life sometimes people will exclude others because they come across as crazy or unstable, but really it's just this need for understanding something different. And Frankie is the only character that has the patience to bring this character to that realization.
I'm free, Mr. Harriman!
Splendid.
And Frankie freed me!
Yes, I saw that.
So Frankie eventually convinces them to release him, and World is super happy, making everybody confused. They're like, you were just crazy and upset a second ago. What's going on? And Frankie explains that, like, if you had everything you ever wanted except the one thing you truly need, what would you do? And then suddenly this guy isn't crazy anymore. He's just like you and me. He's just an imaginary friend. Soon World adjusts to the outside world, and Frankie even knits him this cute little stuffed animal body. But Frankie doesn't have to go back to doing these miserable chores. The residents of Foster's actually agree to all take part in cleaning and caretaking so that Frankie can have more breaks on her duties. And soon the residents join Frankie and World in jumping into the toy box world, just going to show that once you understand somebody else's world and allow them to understand yours, you can both really challenge each other and jump into each other's lives in a boring way, I guess. And then Madam Foster shows up to Foster's again and realizes that nobody is home, and that's where it ends. This is a really, really good TV movie because, one, it follows, you know, Frankie, but also is able to jump to Mac and Blue as, like, the regular protagonists of this show. And unlike Good Will Hunting and House of Blues, it feels more central to the ensemble cast's issues, and Frankie being missing is a shared obstacle that all the main characters have in common, which is a really easy way to streamline a narrative in a feature film while not, like, leaving anybody out of it. Apparently, this was actually the last episode that was produced, and even though it's, like, stuck in the middle of season 6, I consider it the series finale because this is the last thing they made from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. And it does a really good job at embodying everything that makes Foster's Home so special. Like, we talk about imaginary friends and imagination in the real world, but for the first time, this is all the main characters going into somebody else's imagination, like a bigger concept of just, you know, having a friend that's imaginary, but having an imaginary world and the complexities that go with what happens when, like, the world isn't perfect and how the world affects other people. This imaginary world that world runs, oh my god, I'm not gonna get used to that, is just as far as the imagination can really take you. That's why it's called Destination Imagination. You know, like, this is the thing that grounded Foster's Home from the very start. The idea that one's imagination can be a really mysterious, hilarious, and meaningful experience. And this is the final place that Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends could have taken the audience. The Wilt movie was really good because we got to see inside an individual character that lives in this, but honestly, we could do that for Eduardo, we could do that for Coco. Like, if this show really wanted to have, like, movies, they could have done it. I know Adventure Time did those HBO Max specials that each followed a different character in the world of Adventure Time, but I definitely think that was deserved to go to this show, because you're able to see a little bit of the community, but then also dive into one individual character's struggles. And there's so many characters struggling. I'm so happy everybody recommended me to watch this movie. I definitely don't remember it from when I was growing up, but I was so pleasantly surprised with the experience.
Isn't this the magic portal?
Magic portal?
The one with the power to transport me to...
Not sure if you guys remember Season 5 super well, but we had this specific special called The Blue Superdude and the Magic Potato of Power, which is about Mac and Blue coming up with this convoluted story about Blue being a superhero and kind of this whole hero's journey featuring each of the friends in Foster's. And it did a really good job at being that episode. Like, everybody loves that one, and I can't believe how surprised I was to find out I've never seen it. Like, it was a really good idea, and they actually follow up on it with this episode, which is super exciting. It's called Blue Superdude and the Great Creator of Everything's Awesome Ceremony of Fun that he's not invited to. And this is so cool because it actually follows Blue in a much more manic state. Like, the entire episode, he's actually horribly sick, and this is an illusion that occurs within his mind that he's experiencing this Blue Superdude as real life.
Blue!
God, look at that. Great creator.
So it starts out with him engaged in a fierce battle with Frankincense, which is a parody of Frankie, which she was a fairy in the first special. I don't know why she's a villain now, but okay. And yeah, so he's defeated and quickly taken prisoner by Frankie, who locks him up and puts him on the Wheel of Misfortune, which is actually kind of a cool idea when you think about it. He ends up escaping the wheel, but is forced to battle against a bunny monster, which he releases by accident.
Come on, go free. Yeah!
And this is all like a metaphor for like Blue actually going through a sickness and Frankie trying to help him. Of course, she's like viewed as the enemy in this. The Superdude wins the fight against the monster and wears him like a suit, which is crazy. He ends up confronting a giant talking piece of broccoli, who is the gatekeeper to the portal to the ceremony he's trying to go to. So before he can enter this portal, he has to pass a series of tests.
Go to the lair of the Dragon Lady and steal her delectable ambrosia.
Like retrieving ambrosia from the Dragon Lady, or like getting milk from the sacred cow of eternity. And it's so funny because the actual events are like, he meets Jackie Knowles, milk from Coco, so all of these feel streamlined into real events that are happening, and it's just so impressive the way it's written. I haven't had a lot of like funny jokes per se, but the way it's like executed is just impressive more than anything. This is like the reason to watch this season. Ooh, that rhymed. After being hurtled down the stairs on a wagon, he's met by Eduardo, who is also a standing guard, and Blue manages to get past him and drinks the syrup after encountering the other imaginary friends that are attending Mac's birthday party. I really like seeing Eduardo translated from real life to here. Like in the first one, he was like this little girl, but here he's like a evil monster. They really like were flexible with switching up everything they put in this one. I wish it was like more a continuation of the Magic Potato of Power, but yeah, they kind of abandoned some of the continuity things. Believing that he's cured, Blue ends up coughing on everybody else, and yeah, everybody gets sick except for Blue. Blue gives Mac his presents, which turns out to be IOUs, which is ridiculous. That's the funniest part of the episode, though, is when we realize that Blue doesn't have anything actually substantial to give Mac, who is supposedly the great creator of everything, like, and yet he doesn't even have anything to give him. Okay, cool. Just as Superdude finishes off Frankincense, he's confronted by the great creator of everything, Mac, of course.
An IOU for a really, really awesome birthday present? An IOU? You come down here, wreck the party, and get everyone sick in the process, all for IOUs?
And yeah, the event they end up, like, showing in this is so epic. Like, I love how it actually pans out to be a full-on, like, comic book-related episode.
Your actions today leave me but one choice. From this day forth, you are to be my servant.
Yeah!
No, it's not a good thing.
And in the end, there's like this ironic twist where Blue is seen taking care of Frankie, and even Frankie becomes too stubborn to cooperate. So yeah, the ending is actually really funny.
Alpha Beta, this is Frankarella. I've neutralized the invader. Ending transmission.
Like, they make this, like, such a hodgepodge of, like, references that I never got growing up, so, like, these all kind of went over my head, and, yeah, some of this stuff is, like, really inappropriate they reference, so I'm just glad that they even, like, tried to do something like this. For some reason, this is messed up on Tubi, where they actually have this episode in the Magic Potato of Power switch seasons, so I actually watched this early by accident in the last video, and now I'm just, like, confused, because the Potato of Power takes its place here. They're not super, like, serialized, like, you don't need to know the plot, but it is confusing when they are completely different characters in both.
Eduardo? I'm sorry, but what are you—
No! It is Blue and Senor Mug! They dare me to do a flat tire!
So the next episode is called Bad Dare Day, and this one is like a good concept again, but the execution is pretty similar to what they've done in the past. If anything, it kind of reminds me of when everybody was on YouTube and creating a YouTube video. It's the same thing, but this becomes more about dares, which is interesting because we already had the prank episode. Like, I think they're just doing what they think kids are watching, and I don't know, it's just not holding up the same way it used to. I guess cartoons started to become a little bit less prominent at this time because the internet was, like, taking over significantly, and you really notice that in later seasons. Because of this episode being completely structured by pranks, pretty much, I kind of want to go over every prank in the order of which they happened, because you guys will never believe what they make each other do in this. Like, I can't believe this is even an episode.
Once dared, the daree must always do.
So they got a little dare between Mac and Blue being challenged to eat a piece of moldy cheese, and it is disgusting. Like, I hate that we even have to animate this, guys. Like, why do I have to look at this? Blue says it's smiling at him. That's gross, isn't it? So yeah, it ends up being a success. Blue does it, and did anybody really win? No, not really. So Blue makes Mac drink a nasty beverage. Ugh. And Mac, of course, does this, and he's just as good at keeping it up than the rest. And yeah, it just keeps spiraling even harder, with Mac then challenging Blue to help Jimmy's shoes take off his sneakers.
Hey, Jimmy, need some help with those?
And it's so gross. I hate that it has to be gross. Like, why can't it just be more funny than gross? But yeah, if he's successful in this. Then Blue challenges Mac to ruin Eduardo's tea party, which is actually really sad. Like, poor Eduardo, like, he did not want to be involved in this, and of course he has to be. His little dolls, which is his prized possession, are just ruined because of Mac. Come on, Mac. So then Mac and Blue are dared to apologize for ruining the tea party, which is such a funny, like, way to incorporate Eduardo being a part of it. Like, I love that.
Why don't you dare us to do something?
Oh, I wouldn't dare.
No, it's okay.
Just make it a good one.
Oh, okay, I just got it.
So then Wilt gets involved and dares Blue to unplug the TV in the rec room, which, of course, he does. Great. And then we start getting other people involved, like Fluffernutter and Jackie Knowles. Fluffernutter dares Wilt to eat Jackie Nole's sandwich, which he doesn't even go through with. Like, he just kind of loses here. Insane. And then, of course, Mac is dared to steal Madame Foster's golden dentures. Oh my gosh. So Mac fails at this, but it kind of spirals into being a full-on competition with everybody in the house. Madame Foster, who wants to do this. Even characters you don't expect to be in it, like, just become a part of it now.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday! Today's not Sunday, but friends from all over the house have joined together for the first ever Foster's Day Cook Tournament!
Chief Hosey Nose has to eat an entire plate of marshmallows. Then Fluffernutter just has to get in contact with George Mucus. Coco has to eat a worm. One-Eye Sai has to steal Mr. Harriman's monocle. Bloopy Pants punches somebody's butt. Okay. Preparation Ape has to lay out by the pool without sunscreen. By the way, Preparation Ape is not an appropriate name for a kid's character. Come on, guys. Blue has to draw a handlebar mustache on himself. Rodney has to braid Creaky Pete's beard. Mac has to tell Frankie he loves her, which is when it gets really complicated because obviously that's something important to him. He doesn't want to just blurt out that piece of information as a dare, and when she ends up figuring out it is a dare, he like doesn't deny it. He's like, yeah, that was a dare, I didn't mean to, and he didn't actually mean it, which is crazy. He's trying to back out of it.
Yes, it was a dare. I didn't mean any of it. I'll dare, just a dare.
I thought so.
Well, sorry to have bothered you. You know dares.
Blue ends up throwing a can of trash on the ground. He blows Allison's nose and throws himself at a wall while covered in peanut butter. Ew. And yeah, then they end up having the finals, which end up being back to Mac and Blue. Again, realizing that it's kind of like the episode where they're in a competition for a race, or in a competition for, like, what is all this competition and prank stuff? They are, like, running out of ideas, and it's really starting to bother me now. And these ones are even more gross. So we have Mac have to lick the floor clean, which ends up being, like, super successful for him. Then Blue has to throw his paddleball collection into the fire, which is just dark if you ask me. I don't know why you're asking people to throw away their personal belongings. It's definitely going too far. Mac has to give Sloppy Mo a hug. Blue has to kiss Sloppy Mo, then Mac has to give Sloppy Mo a lick, and then Blue has to marry him, and oh my gosh, I can't believe poor Sloppy Mo becomes like the center of all these pranks. That's crazy, but I do like that that's like the end. In the end, Mac has to be as awesome as Blue, and Blue has to put himself into someone else's shoes. Ooh. So yeah, they successfully do each other's dares, but it ends in a tie. Of course, it has to. But Blue ends up having like a character moment where he realizes that maybe he's not like the perfect friend, and I am not surprised at all. I can't believe that he had to do all this to come to that realization.
Sorry, Blue.
Me too, Mac. I'm really sorry.
Friends?
Best friends.
But the whole house getting involved is really fun. I wish Madame Foster was a part of it a little bit more, but yeah, you get what you wish for, don't you? And these episodes have so many reference to what's going on in the house, so it's just nice to get a little bit of world building, but that's not a reason to watch an entire season of a show, so I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it for that alone, but yeah, Bad Dare Day is definitely not one of my favorites.
I'm a little confused about the script. There's like 10 pages of crying and then some random Spanish phrases that make no sense. And who are Darby and Explorin' Lauren?
The next one is actually the sweetest. Like, it's weird because we have some, like, boring episodes that were trying to be funny, and now we have an episode that's just actually genuinely a good episode of television. It's not necessarily funny, but I just like what they did with this, because Foster's did something they could never do on another TV show. So this episode is called Read 'em and Weep, and we actually touch on the subject that we haven't touched in a while, which is all the friends being adopted. You know, like, we have the same cast members coming and going constantly. Wilt, Eduardo, Blue. This one actually takes a toll and makes a lot of those issues a lot more permanent. Like, for example, the episode starts out with Eduardo already being adopted, and I feel like I missed an episode somewhere here, because I'm like, how did that just happen? What a crazy intense thing to happen in the plot and happen off screen. Like, how are you gonna explain that to me, guys?
Our little troop has recently lost a member, and one lucky applicant will get to take his place.
So Blue is holding auditions for a replacement Eduardo, and yeah, he's just trying to get people to speak Spanish and just being everything that Eduardo was, and he's not able to replicate that. So it becomes more of a conversation of like missing your friends and like what happens when people move away, which is crazy because this season is supposed to be its last. Definitely makes me feel like more permanent about it all. Like it seems like the animators know that they're trying to wrap it up and are starting to get into more mature stories. That's why Destination Imagination is such an important one, because that's just a good story in general. And this one really complements that, especially when it comes to like putting this show to rest.
After breakfast, Esmeralda and me go frolicking in the forest.
We end up seeing each of these friends that got adopted, and it's not just him, it's Bloopy Pants, it's Jackie Knowles, Sam Berger. They all have different perspectives of the outside world, like different people they end up getting adopted by, and you definitely feel a little bit sad for all of them. Like, despite the plot being so funny and having them go through different adventures, it is crazy that, like, it's under these circumstances. Like, for example, Bloopy Pants is adopted into a stereotypical Italian family, which is so crazy because he gets all this attention that he really doesn't want. And I like Bloopy Pants a lot. I can't believe how long it took me to learn his name, but, you know, he's such a funny one. It feels kind of like a clip show because it's about Frankie, Mac, Blue, like, learning about all these different stories of, like, where the imaginary friends go afterward from the perspective of these letters. Like, everybody writes letters to Fosters about where they went.
See, I was able to take care of my troublesome playmate. Sent Tabby on a rocket trip to the moon. Thought that sort of thing only worked in cartoons. Anyway.
At first you think that's Jackie Knowles' story, where he's like referred to as a tabby, but he doesn't end up getting along with the cat of the house, so he's abused constantly, and he's barely surviving it. It's kind of depressing. So he sends the tabby away on a rocket and replaces her with a stuffed toy, which the woman definitely would find out. Oh wait, she does. And she assaults Jackie, which you do not expect. It becomes really dark in a bunch of contexts when you think about it. But it's still kind of sad that Eduardo, one of the main characters, is like one of them. Like, I can't believe he's actually out of the picture for now on. That's the one that makes me think that they're actually taking this super seriously. He ends up going with this little girl that looks exactly like Explorin' Lauren, so I'm not surprised it works out so well between them. And he just has, like, the perfect lifestyle.
It's mostly a lot of frolicking till we go in for supper. Before bedtime, Ezzy and me warm ourselves by the fire. She tell me stories about the legendary creatures that live in the woods.
Sam Berger gets adopted by this guy named Ronald and immediately goes on a cruise, but the ship sinks. And it's like, what? So they're cast away on an island. And of course he's writing letters still somehow. Like, he just doesn't want to eat Sam, which is kind of scary. So Eduardo actually sets out to look for a unicorn in his new world, and he attracts the attention of hunters and is shot. Oh my lord, I can't believe they actually have him getting shot. This is crazy. So this is all these postcards bringing the show to a climax, and hearing that Eduardo has been shot, Blue breaks down into tears and admits he's missed Eduardo so bad and he's worried he's dead. But this truck driver shows up through Foster's and reveals that it's Bloopy Pants. So all of his letters on a huge adventure, kind of in the way that Coco did at the beginning of this season. And it just makes you think, like, how far they went in just a few episodes. Like, these are only 13, and, like, I feel like a year's gone by at Foster's.
We thought you were shot!
See, I was shot with a telephoto lens. The hunters turned out to be reporters looking for Sam Squatch or Bigfoot. Then they got a good look at me and start calling me Big Butt instead.
Turns out Ed was shot by a camera, not by a actual gun, and I was not expecting that. That was a really big miscommunication on their part. But Eduardo has to move out anyway because Esmeralda's father doesn't like paparazzi, and yeah, he was picked up by Bloopy Pants and gets to live back at the house. So that wasn't as permanent as I thought it would be. It is kind of sad that the episode starts out that way, but, you know, once it all explains itself, then it makes sense. And then at the end, very, very ending from Jackie's story, he comes back, and the cat comes back on a rocket through the roof and finds Jackie to attack him, which I was not expecting to be like a really funny stinger for the end of the episode, but yeah, it was kind of cool.
Whoa! Nice kitty! Nice kitty!
So all around, like, very, very impactful episode in just a really simple way, and I was not expecting that at all. Yeah, good one, though. This is probably my favorite from the season, and I feel like it did a good job at making the sad moments not sit too long or be too stressful.
Now all that's left is to try out the upstairs. It wouldn't be fair to try one and not the other.
The final normal episode that isn't, the finale is actually really good too. It's season 6, episode 10, Fools and Regulations, and I'm surprised by how impressive this one was. It kind of reminds me of a plot they had at the end of season 2, I believe, where they had Coco go to a benefit concert to make sure Fosters didn't lose money, and that's a very similar situation here, with Frankie and Mr. Harriman throwing a benefit party at Foster's. So the whole concept of this episode is Frankie doesn't want the friends to be on the first floor so they don't lose the opportunity to, get a lot of money.
Oh, please! When have we ever not behaved?
You're right. I'm gonna have to be way less vague.
So she tells Blue, Will, Eduardo, and Coco they have to have fun either in the house or outside, but they can't do both, and they have to choose one and stay there. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. So yeah, they get tired of all these rules and regulations, which actually is what builds up the tension on Blue's end of things, but of course he has to be difficult, and they have to try out the outside and then the inside, and it's like so obnoxious of them, but at least it's a funny joke in the end.
Done.
Good. Now will you please pick?
Just as soon as we go back downstairs.
So they end up choosing upstairs and immediately regret it. They don't have fun, Blue is obviously complaining, and yeah, Frankie is trying to just keep everything together. Unfortunately, they're making a lot of really loud noises upstairs. Oh my god. And yeah, nobody at the party is afraid to admit to them that this is really important and that all of their money is contingent on the fact that there's no problems going on upstairs, which is so funny to think about.
I talked to them. It's all under control.
They tell scary stories and even trigger the fire alarm, which is so funny because I've never seen the fire alarm in this place. I can only imagine such a huge mansion has like a big fire alarm, but it is like crazy. I just hate when fire alarms are in cartoons because it sounds like in my actual house it's going off.
Now, I'm not one for charity qua charity, but at times money just has to be spent.
So yeah, the tension builds and the friends finally win, getting to go outside. Mac joins the party and yeah, they have to stay out there, but now they want to go in again. Oh my gosh, this is so spoiled of them. So now Blue ends up turning the tables completely, sneaking up the side railing of the house, and even trying to go on a tricycle on the electrical cord. Oh my gosh, I think this is going to be their last episode of living, to be honest.
Maybe if we just ask the bird nicely, he'll leave. Excuse me, Mr. Bird? Or Miss Bird? Unless you're married, then I guess it'd be Mrs. Bird or Dr. Bird. I mean, if you went to the trouble of getting a degree, I'd hate not to
Forget this! I'll get him off.
They try different ways to get in the house, bringing back the usual Foster's hijinks, which I really like, seeing Blue, be flung in through the house. And then eventually they take this so far and actually lock Mr. Harriman and Frankie outside. Oh my god, they do not realize how important this is. Blue just blocks the door and doesn't let anybody in. Meanwhile, these guests are all downstairs and none of the friends know what they're doing there. So Mac and Will try to stall, not necessarily knowing why they're there, trying to figure out what they're doing there, and yeah, it really is complicated to watch, especially as the viewer, when you're like, I really don't want them to lose money. Frankie tries everything to get inside, but of course Blue dodges the opportunity to help them.
Look, those crows are pecking at her head and she's still not moving. Wait a minute. We've been duped!
It doesn't seem like anybody's winning in this scenario. They make Frankie Scarecrow, which actually scares things, and it's so funny. And they assumably lose a lot of money until they realize that because they're lacking so much money, they're gonna need a lot to take care of these friends because they are a handful. And honestly, that's actually a really sweet ending because Frankie does go through a lot, so to see this not only didn't cost them any money but save them in the long run is so funny. But yeah, that's the end of Fools and Regulations. It's just crazy to think that there's not gonna be a lot more episodes left to finish off this series. It's kind of making me sad. But unfortunately, it is time to move on to the series finale. Goodbye to Blue.
I can't believe you're not mad. I mean, I thought you'd want to kill me.
The series finale of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends really does something that I've never seen on any show ever, and that's shoehorning in as many references as humanly possible. And you would think such a thing would be really annoying or stimulating, but honestly, I loved it. I think They did a really good job at tastefully inputting a bunch of different things. Whether it's old characters making a sudden return, old plot lines being brought up out of nowhere, or even just the tiniest references in the background, this show does not hesitate to try to throw as much as humanly possible, and I can't help but wonder if they got every episode in this. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. There's 78, so maybe 78 references, question mark? So let's dive into the awesome and incomparable finale that Foster's Home put together, Goodbye to Blue.
Dear Ed, never will I forget how, right before I left, you gave me your life savings.
I did?
Immediately, the whole first episode is a reference, which is surprising. It's Blue waiting for Mac to come home so he doesn't have to be adopted. A concept that was introduced to us in the very first episode, and something that really strings together the series. It's also the main plot of this episode too, which I think was a really smart idea. And if I missed anything that you guys might have caught, please comment below, because this stuff is going so quickly, I don't even know if I can find it all. Mr. Harriman brings in this family that is supposedly looking for an imaginary friend that's blue, circular, and has no feet. So, wonder who that is. He takes them up to Wilt, Eduardo, Coco, and Blue's room, obviously, for what we think is Blue. Blue's hesitating because he's screwed, pretty much. We see the toy box from Destination Imagination, where they jump in and the entire world is there. That's kind of cool. They end up taking home a completely different imaginary friend that just looks like Blue, and it's so funny that that's the joke. We learn that Mac is actually, in fact, moving, and that's why he's not there today. He told Mr. Harriman over the phone, so we just assume that Blue is screwed and he's living here forever.
Since he showed the proper forethought to telephone and explain his situation, I decided to, as the kids say, let it slide. In any case, Master Mac shall be back tomorrow.
But Mac is just heading out. Wilt makes the point that if Blue is just yelling at him, that would make a really depressing last day for him. So Blue's like, okay, fine, I'll give him the best day ever. And that's essentially the whole concept of the final episode.
Do you want his last memory to be of you yelling at him?
You're right, Wilt. Yelling won't do any good. I'm gonna have to kill him.
He says he's gonna kill him, but brings out a paddle ball, which I think is hilarious. I count the paddle ball as a reference, by the way, because it reminds me of the bowling episode when they introduced that new hobby of his, and I don't know, that was just so funny. We get Terrence, which doesn't seem like a reference, but he actually hasn't been in like 2 seasons. We get Mac's apartment one last time. I'm just happy they crammed this into the episode as well. Some of these jokes are so funny that it like almost bothers me, because the last season was really not that great, and then yet every other line is a hilarious joke. It almost like doesn't set itself up for positivity.
Oh, Mac. I really wish we had taken more photos together.
So when Mac gets there, there's no miscommunication. They both acknowledge that he's gonna move, and they just want to have fun in this last day. And yeah, it's pretty bittersweet. I don't know why we're not crying, but Blue's acting really weird about it. This must be some kind of joke, because I've never heard them say the word kill so many times in a cartoon. Like, this is literally the 6th time.
Kill you? Please! You obviously don't know your bestest friend in the whole wide world at all. I'll kill him, and then he can't move away because he'll be dead. And I'll visit him every day at his grave. Aha! This ought to do the job.
So Max starts hanging out with everybody in the house except for Blue, starting with Wilt. He's basically like, I want to do all the things I've never done before, which happen to have not been with Blue. Oh my gosh. So Blue finds himself waiting for Mac while he's doing all these awesome things, and I feel bad for Blue, but then again, he's always talking about killing Mac, so I don't know why we're even feeling bad.
Triple overtime! Quintuple overtime!
Another reference, we got the scoreboard from Good Will Hunting, the best special ever from season 4. That's kind of cool. They even referenced the crazy monster from the pilot episode that took Mac originally, and that's actually a really cool callback. This is when I was like, okay, it's clear the creator knows exactly what he's doing with shoving these in here. Blue's also trying to find the perfect thing to say on Mac's goodbye card, which is actually kind of cute. I don't know why, it's just a really genuine thing he's trying to do.
This is perfect. I'll think of something totally hilarious to write, and every time Mac looks at it, he'll laugh and remember I'm the funniest guy he ever met.
I count this as a reference, but he jumps on top of Mac's head in the kitchen, and he hasn't done this in forever. It reminds me of the original pose from the opening theme song. So yeah, fight with me in the comments. Madam Foster offers Mac cookies that she made, and can't have sugar, 1, from the party episode in season 2, and then 2nd, the cookie episode where they're selling all the cookies, and Mac even mentions it.
You mean the cookies you only make once a year? I remember when we were selling them, they smelled amazing.
Except poor Mac here can't have any because he can't have sugar.
She guides him on how to eat the cookies, and it brings back some of that really slow, awkward comedy that I always like from the show. Like, the timing they work with is so good.
Each and every bite. Slower. Slower. Now another bite. Smaller.
He finds Mac later with Coco, spending quality time, trying to get their picture painted by this artist. And I can't believe we have, like, a new imaginary friend in the final episode. Like, aren't there so many we could be referencing? But then again, there's so many references I can't even keep track. Especially toward the end, it gets insane.
Ah, it's too late. He's already ruined the painting. Paint another picture?
And the guy accidentally paints Blue in the image, and honestly, I think that's such a funny joke. One of the things that Mac wants to do is hang out with Pizza Party from the Rockstar episode, which is so funny because they're like, let's write a song together, and we actually go to the garage to do it, so that was a fun reference. To do stuff they've never done before, which I count as a reference because in the episode where none of the friends were in the home, they were trying so hard to make best of their time, and they were just going crazy with it. So that feels like a very similar plot. I like that we reference it. The next reference is Blue trying to come up with something to do with Mac, and he's like, let's make a movie together, referencing the episode where they literally made the movie together.
We already made a movie. It was called T-Rexatron Alien Wolf 3, a prequel in time, The Unrelenting.
Nope, doesn't ring a bell.
Mac even says the name of the whole movie, which should be a long minute in itself. From this point on, they come at you like speedy, these references. So next we have Blue bringing in the treasure map, also from the episode where they were left home alone. We get the bullying character from season 2, which was so long ago, and he was like barely in the background, so this is kind of cool. The little jokester character with the bag over his head, haven't seen him since like season 1. Blue tries to compete with all this stuff, and he dresses up as Orlando Blue, which is actually an awesome reference. I just don't know why his handkerchief isn't colored in here. Oh, maybe because it's dark. Never mind. But yeah, I love this character. One of my favorites. He's on the thumbnail for one of my videos. He brings out the squeaker box, the little toy that they fought over in season 2. One of my favorite seasons. Oh, and this is the part I was talking about. He names 6 references in an instant, right here.
Or we can start a newspaper, or go to the mall, or go camping, or build an indoor water slide, or post embarrassing footage of heroin on the internet, or go to Europe.
Blue, we did all those things too. Except Europe.
And honestly, I love these references. Like, they're so small, but like, I love that they're talking about them. Then they reference another thing that's not actually from Foster's. They say, let's jump the shark, which is a common term in sitcoms when they have their best episode and never come back from it. Like, the show just declines from then on out, which I would argue happens at the very beginning of the season until this episode came along. Honestly, this surprised me a lot. It's so impressive. But yeah, they go to the back pool and they're trying to jump a shark, but Blue can't even find a shark. It's ridiculous. Frankie comes in and there's a reference to Mac's crush on her when she's like, let's go talk to each other.
Well, when you guys are finished, I need to see Mac. Alone.
See me? Alone? You can see me now.
And oh my gosh, so she brings him to the other room, and this part confuses me because she shows him a surprise party, which by the way is another reference because Mac doesn't like surprise parties, from season 4.
Sorry, Mac. I know you hate surprise parties, but I couldn't resist.
And everybody's saying goodbye to him. Aw, it's actually really sad to think this is happening. Like, he's never gonna come back here again? I don't believe it. Goo comes in for a second, which is another reference. I never realized how little she actually is in the entirety of the show until now. I feel like it's like between 6 and 8 episodes. Like, what? Especially since there's like 78 total. Like, can you imagine? I like that we get some more characters.
Hello, aquarium. Yes, I'd like to rent a shark for 4 seconds, although we may want to jump it twice. Better make it 8. Hello?
Another reference is Madam Foster's old friends showing up. The ones from the bowling alley, from the Going to Europe episode, and they even have motorcycles, which I don't remember that reference. Then in one giant shot, we have so many references. We have the Prince Charming friend from the Frankie Crush episode, the chimp from the Bubblegum episode, the old man from the Adopt-a-thon episode, Frit and Frat from the hotel episode. The episode where they're all fighting over the same room, the little imaginary friend in the jumpsuits there. I can't believe how much they packed into one single image. This is why it's like so stressful after a while. I know this little boy's been in it before, but I kind of can't remember off the top of my head. Then in the next shot, we have the little doll from Destination Imagination, the red brick guy from when Terrence dreamed him up, the multiple eye guy from Sight for Sore Eyes. Then we got Blue bringing in Eduardo's tricycle from the Cuckoo for Cocoa Cards episode. But yeah, plot-wise, Blue embarrasses himself trying to get Mac's attention, and it just hasn't worked this entire episode. He's looking worse and worse.
Then I'll walk and jump the shark!
He's just trying not to be selfish like he's been told he was in the past, which, yeah, he definitely is. And yeah, he thinks his one opportunity is putting something on this card, which doesn't end up working out, so he writes on the front. Wow, what a jerk. Then on this card, we have like a million references. Bloopy Pants, Sam Burger, Bendy, the Little Peas. Honestly, I can't even like count these ones. I've been trying to, but it's not working out. Let's just assume this is like plus 10. After one last tantrum from Blue, we learn that Mac isn't actually moving super far. He's moving to the same complex and just a different room. Oh my gosh.
What?
But I saw you with boxes and Mr. Harriman said...
No, I mean, I'm moving, but I'm not moving away. It's just to another apartment in my building.
Oh, did I fail to mention that key detail?
And then we have one final reference at the very, very end where Mac admits that somebody has to move into Foster's home. And guess who that is? The character that is the last line in the entire series.
She's moving somewhere that doesn't allow imaginary friends. So...
Our personal favorites, everybody. Cheese.
Now we're brother roomies!
I'm sorry, but this is not okay.
Then in one final meta reference, they play the theme song backwards to make it look like it's being undrawn, and it's honestly giving me an existential crisis, so I'm gonna have to end it here. All around, a really cool artistic choice, and even having some of the original promo images is something Craig McCracken did at the credits with a little thank you, and honestly, it's so sweet and reminds me of like watching this all growing up. I can't believe how many references they put in here. It's just such an impressive episode. Like, do you guys remember seeing this at all, or is this one that passed you by? Because I know the 5th season was like kind of a hit or miss at a lot of different parts, and I would say most of it is miss, but this one just really took home the cake and ended on a really positive note for me. So I'm super happy that we could end celebrating. And that's how the episode ends. What a crazy way to end it. I'm sad we didn't get to see Duchess of all people. Like, there were so many things we didn't see, but hey, the references definitely outbeat those. There you have it, every episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. 78, 79 episodes. Like, it was a crazy journey, but thank you to everybody who sat here and watched my 6 different 1-hour retrospectives. I'm going to try to release all of them together at once on my other channel, Johnny Tunes, so don't forget to like and subscribe and try to find more of my content over there. Oh, thank you guys so much, and I can't wait to get into more cartoons with you. I will see you guys next time.